for an organization called NACOSA, which stands for Networking HIV and AIDS Community of Southern Africa. We started out working mainly in the HIV and AIDS and TB response, but because of the close links between gender-based violence and HIV and how they intersect with each other, we started working increasingly in the gender-based violence sphere. We work in both prevention, so working to prevent gender-based violence, to change societal norms. We run some very interesting workshops with young women and young men called No Means No, which is empowerment self-defense. And it's really a way to empower young women to find their voices, really. The self-defense side of things is the sort of the end of the workshop. It's really more about empowerment and finding your voice. And then we also work in response. So we work in Thuthuzela care centers and designated centers, which are specialist facilities working with survivors of violence, maybe sexual violence, but all forms of gender-based violence as well, child abuse as well. And we really work with NGOs and all the multi-sectoral stakeholders in those facilities to provide a package of care for survivors of gender-based violence so that they get the health care that they need to prevent them from becoming HIV positive, from prevent unwanted pregnancies, that they get also counseling and support and trauma containment in that very, very difficult post-violence part of the journey. And we're here at SVRI with our campaign where we're saying it takes a village to end gender-based violence. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to end gender-based violence. So we're saying everyone has a role to play. Every person in a community has a role to play in ending violence. And we're asking people, what's your role? And I think it's really important that every member of the community understands that unless we all take a stand, unless we all do something positive, we're not gonna manage to turn the tide on this terrible scourge in our country. We work in a lot of facilities and we see a lot of people. It's mainly adolescents and young people, a lot of children that come through our doors. And I think for us, the real learning is just how prevalent gender-based violence is in society, South African communities. Every South African, I think, is in some way impacted, so we can't say it's a them problem. It's an us problem. And as a society and as a community, we all have to come together and play our part to end it. And I think one of the interesting things that we've started to look at is also working with perpetrators of violence. It's quite controversial, but especially in the feminist space. But what we've discovered is, hurt people, and a lot of young men have come from very violent families. They've come from very violent societies, and that's all they know. And a lot of the time, they don't actually realize that what they're doing is gender-based violence. And so we also work with boys and men, trying to address those norms and trying to help them understand what is violence about. Gender-based violence doesn't happen because of unemployment and poverty. It's exacerbated by those things. But violence is about power. Gender-based violence is all about power. When you understand that, I think it's much easier for people to say, hang on, maybe my attitude is not right. Maybe what I'm doing is actually harmful. So I think we're really saying to people, you can't say, oh, I'm a man, gender-based violence doesn't affect me, or I live in a nice suburb, gender-based violence doesn't affect me. It affects everyone, and everyone has a role to play. So that's what we're saying. What's your role? Thanks.